Guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Today we're back here with Film Theory, and today I'll let you back because we got murder drones on the loose. Because yeah, MatPat's actually taking a look at murder drones, or specifically the lore. So yeah, he's about to take a stab at trying to figure out the lore of murder drones. All I can say, MatPat might have it easy today. You'll see what I mean in a minute. I think we all know the basic story here. Basically, a rogue AI trying to destroy all of humanity. And, well, not gonna happen. We'll see. Anyway, might as well see where MatPat thinking things are gonna go from here. So be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's go.
Gather up your railguns and crank up your angsty teenage energy, because today we're covering something brand new.
Sweet,
Hi, Ann.
I'm open to new things, I guess.
I'm talking about Murder
Sorry.
Drones, one of the most popular animated series across all of YouTube. A series that has found a completely different, original way of communicating its story to us. Instead of using found footage or hidden shorts videos to tell its story like most indie projects, Murder Drones is releasing, get this, 20-minute episodes, one at a time, in sequential order. What? No QR codes? No unlisted videos? Madness! Who knew that structuring your animated series like an actual animated series would feel so refreshing these days? Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that locked itself behind 3 layers of doors to hide from the watchful eye of the algorithm drones. And ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna absolute solve the world that is Murder Drones. Produced by Glitch Entertainment here on YouTube, Murder Drones tells the story of some teenage robots who have to save the universe from a rogue AI program. And for as much as I was just praising the series earlier for its straightforward content delivery strategy, it doesn't mean that the story is a purely linear experience. This show is filled with twists, flashbacks, and fourth wall breaks that keep you on the edge of your seat, guessing about what's gonna happen next. And that's not an exaggeration either. If you look away for 2 seconds, you stand to miss a hidden detail or clue buried in something as simple as flashing source code or a class presentation, which is where I come in today. Since this is a new series that I'd like to talk about moving forward,
we are never talking about this.
Talking about what?
Like I said, since this is a new show that I'd like to talk about again sometime in the future, I want to start by giving you all a simple, straightforward overview of the plot and key details that'll help you fill in the gaps that you might have missed during your first or even your 40th watch through. I'm also going to be doing it not in episode order, but rather timeline order. The order that all the major events actually happened in the universe, since that's the way that makes the most sense, as opposed to the twisty way it's ultimately presented in the show. And hey, if I make a mistake along the way, just remember,
I messed up, in the same way I'm about to fix it!
Then by the end of the episode today, we'll actually solve the rest of the first season. That's right, we are 6 episodes in right now. 6 episodes spread across 2 years, so why wait any longer? I suspect that I know the big twist reveals that are going to be planned for the final 2 episodes of the season, and potentially even deeper into the series. And if you don't want to be spoiled, well, I suppose you could always just forget everything that I say.
Consider it, repressed.
So let's rewind, or rather fast forward to the 3000s, as I introduce you to a potentially new series and solve where the Murder Drones universe is headed next. Get hyped, guys!
And yet, I still feel nothing.
The main story of
Yeah. Well, basically, we just gotta figure out how we're gonna stop that, evil AI. The ones taking over the drones. So, looks like Uzi has a connection, though not fully corrupted yet. She is showing signs as the last episode, number 6. But there are gonna be some details that we missed. I'm not sure the current year's 3000s, but, I'm just kind of curious to see where MatPat's gonna go with these theories, so let's just see. I'm a big fan of Murder Drones, so definitely a big step. So let's go.
Murder Drones takes place in the far future, the year 3071 to be exact, based on these balloons that we see in the background of episode 3's prom scene. However, the real start to our story happened quite a number of years earlier. This was a time when humans were expanding beyond the confines of Earth to set up colonies on planets outside of our solar system, mining them for all their resources. One of the biggest players in this world was
J.C. Jensen in space.
To help with both mining and domestic life, the company created a series of autonomous AI robots called worker drones, each with their own personality, thoughts, and feelings. Basically, these robots were indistinguishable from a normal living creature. Sadly, though, not everyone agreed, killing them for even perceived minor offenses.
Western Villa style? Were you programmed by beasts?
you right in the head.
Pause it right there. Putting aside the obvious issues around techno-ethics here, that type of behavior right there is a big no-no in the world of murder drones. You see, all worker drones came packaged with an established proper set of step-by-step instructions for decommissioning old robots, and they're delivered to us on old VHS tapes. Truly a film theorist classic. Why
Well, we
should you
only see
bother
it
following those
fourth
instructions?
episode.
Well,
Disassembled drones may occasionally reboot from software death alone. More than undead federal fine hazards, its corrupted AI carry an increased risk of future error.
in short, if improperly disposed of, the dead robots might wake up, literally turning into zombie drones. And not only do they wake up, they're changed in that process. According to the VHS, these drones experience, quote, potentially hazardous mutations to their coding, which we later learned to be known as the Absolute Solver program. And that, my friends, is why you always gotta take time to read the terms of service. We're told that there's only a 0.01% chance that the robots will come back to life, and of that 0.01%, only 0.7% have this dangerous mutation, thereby yielding a 0.007% chance that the improperly disposed of drone will have this Absolute Solver mutation. But of course, this incredibly rare, will probably never happen thing, in fact, does happen. And it happens in the form of a worker drone named Sin, waking up alone, confused, and scared in a pile of robot corpses. She's eventually found by a human girl named Tessa Elliott, who's taken a liking to some of the broken worker drones and has been repurposing them to be her friends. Among the drones Tessa's taken in are the lovable goof N, the butt-kicking V, and the incredibly loyal J.
The whole letter is a lot to remember.
But clearly
Basically,
Sin
you're like,
is different.
yeah.
The Absolute Solver
Sin
program that
totally.
activated inside of her changed her. She speaks in a more robotic Microsoft Sam-esque voice, literally stating her emotions as they happen, and it generally seems that she's on the fritz, acting like a puppet on strings.
Sheepish, nod, giggle. I am so naughty.
However, Tessa has a very different view on the drones than her parents who, it would seem, work as higher-ups at the J.C. Jensen Corporation. While that's never directly stated in the show, we can infer it from what's said during this moment when Tessa gets locked up by her folks.
Sorry, boss. Corporate's spoken.
Additionally, the family
Actually, what makes sense, not to mention, like, the whole gala kind of deal. Like, if you're not, like, a high up in J.C. Jensen, how would you, one, have access to the worker drones, or in this case, the pits of worker drones, and two, well, like I said, know about all this. Though, if I was Tessa, if I ever did this and I knew about, like, say, an Absolute Solver unit, or if I didn't, I still would probably, you know, check this programming, or at least learn it, you know, to see. Huh? What's that there? Uh-oh. Or at least try to figure it out, because, yeah, you'll see how bad that Absolute Solver unit is. Let's go.
possesses an entire staff of worker drones at their mansion on Earth, treating them more like slaves and pests.
Tessa James Elliott. We will not entertain your dumpster pits. Yes, Mother.
Sin, infected by the hazardous mutation that is the Absolute Solver program, sees this and does not like it, eventually deciding that it would be much better if these humans just weren't around anymore. And so when the Elliots throw a
Seeing
big
how
dinner
they,
party at their
you know,
mansion, Sin executes her
them, I'm
plan,
not surprised.
transforming into some eldritch abomination and killing everyone at the party except for Tessa, the only human who decided to treat this robot with respect. And Sin didn't just stop at the party, she killed everyone on the planet by collapsing the core of Earth.
We know it mutates and damaged AI. It took Sin as a host, then it took everything.
And if you thought killing off a planet's worth of creatures would be enough, think again. Remember, at this point in history, humans have expanded far beyond just one planet, meaning Sin needed to find ways of infiltrating these exoplanets if she truly wanted to wipe humanity from existence. Thankfully for her, humans, ever the curious bunch, did most of the heavy lifting for her. After seeing what happened to Earth, the humans brought Sin's programming into their various systems to study it, and that was a big mistake. The Absolute Solver program does the exact same thing again on Copper 9, one of these human-colonized exoplanets and our main setting for the series. And again, all human life gets extinguished. The newly liberated worker drones now have no more commands that they need to follow. They are free to live their lives as they wish. And yet, this worker bot peace doesn't last for very long. At some point in history, a new breed of drones, the disassembly drones, or murder drones, arrive on the scene with a directive to eliminate all the workers. This forces the everyday bots to live behind a series of 3 protective walls, Attack on Titan style. And though the worker and murder drones drones are told that this comes straight from the J.C. Jensen Corporation, we learn in episode 6 that that actually isn't the case. Instead, the murder drone massacres that are happening across various planets are being orchestrated by Sin for unknown reasons.
Sin disappeared on Earth.
Boss ran away.
We mutually disengaged. Her last known act was sicking you lot on the human exoplanets.
Why?
Wait, really?
That's what we're trying to figure out, bozo.
But that's weird, right?
Jay.
Sin initially retaliated against humans because of their callous mistreatment of the worker drones, but now she's sending murder bots out to massacre the very bots that she initially worked to free? Why? Well, I suspect it's for recruitment. I suspect it's a numbers game. If the odds of
Gotta
the
get those
absolute
solver
solver
units.
mutation activating in a dead drone is 7 in 100,000, they're gonna need to pile up a whole lot of dead drones in order to get a couple of absolute solvers out of the group. Sin wants to kill more and more worker drones, not because she's cruel, but because she wants to build her army. What's more, the absolute solver
So
mutation
far,
seems to get
not working.
handed down between generations of robot families, which yes, is a real thing in this universe. So Sin may just be looking to speed up natural
how that
selection
even
of this
works,
super
I'm not
trait
even
by
gonna
weeding
ask.
out all the worker drones who don't possess it. This would basically be the concept of robotic eugenics. Get ready to clip this next section out for your Matt Pat out of context compilations, my friends, but you can't talk about murder drones without talking about World War II. During World War II, the Nazis firmly believed in eugenics, eliminating
right.
quote-unquote undesirable genetic elements from the German population so that the ideal Aryan human could dominate. In order to create a race of
basically,
genetically pure,
ethnic
physically fit
cleansing.
human beings, they used tactics like forced sterilization and selective breeding to ensure the quote-unquote positive genes were the more prevalent and circulated throughout the gene pool. By eliminating all the normal worker drones, it enables the absolute solver code to dominate and procreate, for lack of a better term. Beyond that, though, Sin's motives remain unclear. Is it to build up enough of an army to fight against the last strongholds of humanity? Is it because she's lonely and she wants more like her? Is it because Absolute Solver has actually been in control of her this entire time? Currently, it's unclear, and we're just gonna need more time to see what happens. Anyway, it's
True, and like Matt Pat said, we're down to the last 2 episodes of the first season, though. I'm not sure if we'll get a second season, but you never know, right? I'm actually kind of curious to see where this goes. But if I had to take a guess, maybe since trying to, like, you know, get rid of the humans so the drones could take over, or at least the solver units, because we've seen what these like units who are affected with it could do, whether it be Doll or Uzi. Though there is that part of like the cannibalistic edge of it. Like if you've seen in like the second episode, I think, or maybe 3, 2, 3, and 4. We'll go with that stretch. Because we've seen both Doll and Uzi eat, like, their own kind, basically. Whether it be motor oil or robot parts, they ate them. I'm not kidding. But, again, considering the powers they got, you know, telekinesis, and apparently just warping out of nowhere for Doll, and the organic murder drone parts, I still don't understand that part. How did that happen? Though there is one thing I don't get. Like, go back to, like, in episode 4, when Uzi was shot with an arrow from one of the worker drones, if I remember correctly, that arrow, I think it was one of the arrows, I don't remember what, it basically turned into a human arm. It went from inorganic to organic. Not sure that's a mutation in the absolute solver unit, which could explain why Uzi was a little more free will than, say, Doll or Nori. But, again, that's just my thought process, but I never really understood, like, the whole organic transformation of that scene from episode 4. If anyone knows, let me know, because that still bugs me. Like, seriously. I don't know if the absolute solver unit could do that. I mean, considering what he did to Sin, it could be, but I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I just had to remember that. Moving along.
finally time that we cut to the actual events of the show. Yeah, it is here,
pilot,
finally,
aka
where we
episode
cut
1.
back to the story of our characters as depicted in episode 1. Uzi, our main protagonist, is one of the drones
Gangsta
unknowingly affected with the absolute
Bite me.
solver, having inherited it from her mother, Nori. Sadly, Nori was killed by the murder drones soon after Uzi's birth. And now a teenager, Uzi is full of
we don't
rebellious
know
teen
which one
spirit,
yet.
annoyed that the
There are 3 of
workers
them.
have hidden away from the murder drones rather than fighting them head on. So armed with a homemade railgun, she ventures out of the safety of the doors and meets N, V, and and J, Tessa's drone army that she
But I think
rescued
she
so
killed
many years ago.
Jay,
And
I
now
think?
the murder drone
If I remember
squad
correctly.
tasked with slaughtering the workers of Copper 9. Except there's
That
one
was
problem
Sin.
with this. By the end
I
of the
think the
episode,
murder drones
Uzi's
kinda
absolute
just
solver
left
has
them alone.
activated.
Just can't wait to murder all humans. Classic robot stuff. I hope they're sitting pretty there on Earth, because we're coming for them.
As we're getting this cliffhanger ending, blink and you'll miss an important line of code flashing on Uzi's eye visor. It says absolute solver string equals false before quickly
then
switching over to true. Yep, our main protagonist now has herself a penchant for human genocide, which again feels
So,
weird since
just a tiny
Uzi didn't
bit.
die
Doesn't
here.
really
How could
happen
the absolute
until
solver program have
3, 4
activated
at
inside of
least,
her if she needs
after
to have been a
she,
zombie bot for it to have activated? Well, remember the code for these drones functions a lot like DNA, meaning that their programming can be handed down between generations. It seems that Nori, the mother of Uzi, passed it down to her daughter in the same way that human parents pass down hair color or some other disease or trait. And when passed down this way, absolute solver doesn't require death to activate. So Uzi teams up with the disassembly drones to solve the mystery of what's actually going on. Looking for clues around Copper 9 eventually leads the gang to a place called Cabin Fever Labs, an old J.C. Jensen facility. This place is filled with a lot of interesting details. For one, the show makes it canon that despite killing all humans on Earth, the
Wait, all
doggos
dogs?
are in fact alive, safe, and immortal.
that
See,
canon?
sometimes a plot
Oh,
hole
no?
can be a
What?
great thing. Also at this place, we get ourselves a tiny hint about a new character. As Uzi's exploring the Cabin Fever Labs, she picks up some paperwork that talks about decommissioning a particular worker drone named S010011X01. We don't get an official name for the drone, but based on the way that this series turns serial numbers and names, the fans have dubbed this character S. You could argue that this is just a random sheet of paper, but I don't think so. This clue about an S drone happens in the same episode where we learn about the insane things that Uzi's mom used to say before she went full absolute
one is
solver.
She was always all, build doors against the coming sky demons. The singularity awakens. Look at this cool S I can draw.
Sky Demons, Singularity, Cool S. More S things. I believe this S character will be making their
might be
appearance
a
sometime in
problem.
the 7th episode of the series, as a good robot built by Tessa to make some big reveal about Uzi's mom's death. You see, in this series, every drone has two numbers that ultimately identify them. One is their SN, or serial number, a string of letters and numbers unique to each character. The second number is the PN, presumably the product number. This string indicates what model of drone they are.
MX.
Drones that are the same kind have the same PNs. We see that this is true with N and J, and presumably V, who all have themselves the same PN, SYN MYKX. Notice that CYN or SYN hidden right there. All the murder drones are part of the same SYN model group, and have been controlled by SYN at some point throughout the series. However, this S has itself a completely new PN that we haven't seen before, TSA MMAC. Now, the TSA there can't be a coincidence when we have ourselves a human named Tessa running around who loves repairing robots and is trying to stop SYN's quest of absolute domination. In addition, I believe we'll discover that S was a friend or colleague of Uzi's mother, Nori. How can I be sure? Well, in episode 3, we're shown Nori's security badge, which shows that she used to work at Cabin Fever Labs. The same is true for Eva, another carrier of the absolute solver corruption. And wouldn't you know it, but Cabin Fever Labs is the same place that Uzi found the document about S. Furthermore, take a closer look at that document. We see black, creepy drawings written all over it. These drawings bear a striking resemblance to the ones that were drawn by Uzi's mother. So I think at this point it's far more likely that whoever this S character is will be an old ally of Nori and Eva and will be willing to lend a hand to Uzi and company as they try to defeat the absolute solver corruption.
I'm not too sure about that. Like, okay, we don't know anything about S. We just know he's there, but nothing about his personality. And if I had to take a guess, my guess, S here, considering the Cabin Fever Labs and, well, that marked for disassembly on the paper, not good. Because, frankly, remember, he was slated for disassembly. So, could it be, I don't know, it's got to be one of those rebirth after disassembly kind of deals, and could be Science, like, right-hand man or girl, because we don't know if it's a guy or girl. Though, again, a lot of times you can't really tell until they, well, you know what I mean. Jeez. Not sure that's sexist or not, considering they're robots, but again, we don't know much about S. I mean, whether it's a boy, girl, whatever. So it seems a little far-fetched to say it's an ally, though considering what the mom was going on about, and how Doll is, who Eva's daughter also has the, you know, absolute solver unit, and we saw what it did to the prom, yeah, I don't think I would trust it. I mean, think about it. I don't know. So it's either, okay, we got 3 options. Either A, MatPat's right, and, we're going to get some extra help. B, well, my thought of, Sin's right-hand man. Or C, just seems irrelevant. Like I said, those are the only 3 options I could see. But if you guys got any other thoughts, let me know. Back to it.
Moving back into the main story though for a minute, after exploring around Cabin Fever Labs, Uzi starts to act strange, and we begin to see the full extent of her absolute solver powers. She transforms into some kind of monster and attacks all the other drones. After being talked down by N, Uzi returns to normal, solidifying them as the cutest couple ever. Eventually the team finds a key in the form of a robotic cricket that unlocks the innermost part of Cabin Fever Labs. They then run into Tessa Elliott, the girl who befriended Sin and the other drones back in the day. Tessa, now an adult, has made it her mission to stop Sin and any other absolute solver drones from taking over the universe. In the end of the most recent episode, we see Uzi, N, and Tessa finding their way to the elevator that leads down into the innermost lab, leaving them and us, the audience, curious about what they'll discover down there. And honestly, that's where the series stands at the end of episode 6. The creators of the show have said that the first season will consist of 8 episodes. We're really close to the end, and there's still a lot of mysteries that have yet to be solved. Is Uzi gonna fully transform into Sin? Is this mysterious S character gonna make an appearance? Will Tessa be forced to kill Uzi to save the world? Well, loyal theorists, it turns out you don't have to wait for the next 4 to 6 months for the final episodes to come out. I suspect that I already know everything that's gonna happen there, beat for beat, in the final 2 episodes. In fact, I suspect that we've known where the show was headed since the very first scene of the very first episode. Right after the opening exposition of episode 1, the show reveals everything to us. Right when we're first introduced to Uzi, she's given a PowerPoint presentation to her class about the dangers of sitting around waiting for the murder drones to find a way past the doors.
Hide under the ice behind 3 stupid doors? It's like we're waiting for an inciting incident.
As she's talking, this diagram appears behind her. This image is almost a complete rip of the infamous hero's journey. If you're not familiar with that, the hero's journey is a storytelling template that many of the stories throughout history have followed. From ancient epics like Gilgamesh and the Odyssey to modern classics like Harry Potter and Star Wars, if you're writing yourself a fantastical story, then the hero's journey is breaking down the format of your narrative. Now, on my first viewing, I saw this reference as just that, a reference. Murder Drones loves meta humor and fourth wall breaks, so I just chalked this up to another inside joke. However, when I went back to the series again in preparation for this theory, I realized that everything that's happened in the first 6 episodes has lined up exactly with this little visual gag, beat for beat. We start off with the call to action that draws the hero into adventure. Uzi wants to leave the safety of the doors and deal with the murder drones directly. Then she gets saved by an unlikely aide, N. Right after this, Uzi teams up with helper, Dal, and a mentor who's been around the block, Tessa. Together, this crew fights back against a bunch of challenges, and Uzi becomes more and more tempted to use the absolute solver abilities, culminating with her being fully possessed by Sin and N having to cut off her hand in episode 6. And mind you, this diagram isn't just for any generic hero's journey. It is one that is specifically built for Uzi. Notice all the references to angst moments built into this wheel. And if there is one emotion that definitely connects back to Uzi, it is angst.
An angsty teen fad bite me, and I made you rebel like an angsty teen, which got you killed.
So if I'm right, that then leaves us right here on the chart, at the bottom, ready for another helper and a big revelation that's tied to 3 specific things: rebirth, abyss, and death. So remind me again where these characters are. Exploring Cabin Fever Labs, a giant underground facility that keeps going down to the center point, an abyss, if you will. And who have we been talking about this entire time? S, a potential new helper associated with Uzi's dead mom, who probably has more information than anyone about what happened to her. According to the hero's journey, at this point, Uzi, our hero, will be given some sort of a revelation. S is going to reveal some saucy detail, something that, according to our template, will lead Uzi to a full angst overload. If what we've seen previously are just tiny overloads, what could this possibly look like? What could be so devastating for Uzi to hear that it'll send her into a presumed meltdown? Well, I suspect that S is going to reveal that N was the murder drone who killed Uzi's mom. Yeah, I'm just as shocked as you are, but N is the most likely killer. At this point in the series, we don't actually know what happened to Nori. All we know was that she was bitten by some murder drone and that Nori's father ultimately had to put her down. On Copper 9, there's only 3 murder drones that we know of: V, J, and of course, N. Nothing would make for a more catastrophic revelation than finding out your new boyfriend is the one that killed your mom. This devastating news will be too much for Uzi to handle, and she'll fully succumb to her absolute solver powers, going full angst overload. Then, after being saved once again by N and the crew, Uzi will atone for her sins and make her mission for Season 2 clear: defeat Sin, stop the absolute solver, and end the cycle of violence that prevents humans and drones from living the peaceful lives they want. So, there you have it, my friends. Murder Drones, the plot so far, as well as a solid hypothesis or two on where it might be headed in the final episodes of the season. How am I so sure about this? I guess you could say it's a mixture of Easter eggs, narrative logic, and a whole lot of watching other forms of media. You know, stuff like movies, TV shows, and of course, anime.
Oh, and they said pirating all that anime was useless.
But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut!
Honestly, maybe it wasn't N. Could be S, you know. Okay, I kind of like the idea of N being, you know, told that he was the one that killed Nori. But what if, okay, hear me out. What if during the final episode, it turns out it wasn't N that actually killed Nori? Remember, the dad was the one that, you know, killed her off. I don't know. I'm thinking like two ways. Either A, it was actually S that actually did it, if he's real, you know? Going on MatPat's story. So that could work. Or, shut in the dark here, but we haven't seen much of him in a while. But what about Uzi's dad? What if he was the true villain? Think about it. He kept everyone safe behind the doors, yet no one did anything. And remember back in the first episode, when Nori or Uzi when he had a chance to fire at N, you know what he did? Just hit in there. Like, sure, it's played up for like he's a coward, but usually the cowardly ones are usually a hidden evil. So what if it wasn't Nori who was the murder drone? What if it was her dad? I don't know. I mean, like I said, B's a stretch, but it's the best I got. I don't know, but it would be interesting to learn that it was actually Uzi's dad that was a murder drone. Can you imagine that? Sorry, just that I kind of want to see happen, but it's more likely A, where S was the one that actually killed Nori, though lies to Uzi to get her to, you know, surrender to the Absolute Sulfur Unit. I don't know, but still, would be interesting. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that one. Man, I made this last long. So until next time, like, subscribe for more. See ya.